So hello everyone and welcome to our hashtag Female Boss mini YouTube series. Today we have the lovely Lara Findlay, who's the co-founder of GearedApp. Lara is an amazing female boss and young entrepreneur who has been running GearedApp since 2013 and has been incredibly successful. So hello Lara.
Hi there, nice to be invited on here. Thanks for inviting me.
It's nice to see you. So welcome. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and about GearedApp and how you set up the business?
Great. So GearedApp is a tech for good digital development team. So we're a team of developers that like working with impact-driven companies to build really cool digital solutions, whether it's web platforms, mobile apps. We'll work with any organization that's trying to do something good for the world and really help them deliver their products. My role in the company, I'm the director, one of the directors and co-founders. I started GearedApp with my two co-founders 8 years ago. And my role is very much sort of a lot of the people skills involved in the development process. And that's where I really enjoyed getting involved with technology, because there's a real niche for people who like to manage things, like to kind of help people explore ideas and problem solve in the tech space. And that's what really attracted me to the space. So yeah, it's been a really fun journey. It's definitely been a roller coaster. 8 years feels like a long time and a very short time at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be great to just chat, anything people need to know. Like I'm happy to chat about that today.
No, that's great. Thank you. So why don't we start? So what initially inspired the three of you to start up the business?
So I was a student at Napier University 8 years ago. I was doing a postgraduate degree in information systems development, which is essentially computing for all intents and purposes. And while I was studying, I went through various different modules and I was learning about lots of different things to do with computing. And one module that I really enjoyed was our group project module. So I know a lot of group projects don't go very well. Sometimes people have personality clashes and, differences of opinion as to who's doing what, but ours seemed to go really well. We were a team of 5, we were working together and we decided to build an app for the Edinburgh Capitals ice hockey team, which was a local team in Edinburgh. At the end of the project, we were really excited about what we did and we took it to the team and showed them what we'd done and asked if they wanted to buy it from us. The manager saw a lot of potential in that and he said, well, if you want to continue building this with us, we can get some funding and you can work with us. So the Edinburgh Capitals essentially became our first client. So from that point onwards, we were thinking about different options and what we want to do with our lives, but we were all really excited about working together. So we went to the Napier University Business Incubator, which was the Bright Red Triangle. They provide support for students or alumni that are looking to get started with businesses. And we asked them, how do we start a business? If we wanted to do this long term, how would we go about that? And they gave us a lot of great advice about how to start a company, how to start with the finances and the bookkeeping and just all the bits and pieces that we didn't know anything about to begin with so that we could start a company together. And that's essentially how GearedApp was born. Within the first 2 years, essentially we started as 5. The 3 of us stuck together. So myself, Josh and Andre, we were the 3 that really wanted to keep things going. And what we recognized was that in Edinburgh, there weren't very many small teams that could really help local businesses to do smaller projects, really exciting, innovative things. There was a lot of big agencies, but we really wanted to stand out apart from those. Tech for good wasn't a term back then, but we knew that values were really important to us. So that's how we decided to start GearedApp. And from there, it's just been onwards and upwards.
No, that's great and so inspiring. I love the fact that you started it whilst you were a student at university. So you've been running the business for a few years now. Mm-hmm. So what would you say has been the highs and the lows of running your business over the years?
So there's been a lot of highs and lows. In the early days, it felt like a real roller coaster because some of the biggest challenges were around cash flow. So essentially, we didn't get any investment. All of us were students. We didn't have loads of money in our back pockets that we could put into the business. So we had to try and be as frugal as possible. And there were times where, we were struggling to decide who would get paid next so they could cover their rent. It was a challenge. But what was great was that there was the 3 of us and we really stuck together and we tried to support each other as much as we could. And we did try and speak to people around us and get support from local networks. I think that one of the biggest highs along the way was when we sort of started to realize that we were building a really cool team that really enjoyed working together. And that really inspired me, to be honest, that feeling that it's not just us telling employees to do work, it's creating a team that are excited to come to work, want to work for us, and really pushing themselves to learn as well. So it has been a bit of a roller coaster. I think the early days were particularly challenging, and there are challenges actually along the way towards, even if you have that cash flow and stability, there are still really difficult days where you've got big decisions to make, and it's a challenge. But definitely think that the team keep me going, and some really good highs along the way, all to do with the people, to be honest with you.
No, that's great. And it is all about the people that you work with, isn't it? It makes it go so much better. It can smooth out that path throughout all the lows.
Absolutely.
So again, you were a student when you started your business, and our students that will be on Female Boss might be looking to start up their own business. So what sort of hints and tips would you give to our students if they were thinking of starting their business?
So I guess the biggest tip that I could give would be to try and connect with networks around you. There's a lot of support out there for startups, and there's a lot of people that are in the same position as you, but you might feel quite isolated sometimes. Each of the colleges and universities or have some kind of entrepreneurship support that you can access, and sometimes it just takes chatting through your issue to be able to kind of start clarifying it for you. So I guess trying not to get stuck in that rabbit hole of, self-doubt and stress, and thinking about the bigger picture is really important. You do have to have a bit of optimism. So I would definitely speak to your networks, speak to Business Gateway. I would try and set yourself a plan. So there's a lot of business plan templates and things like that. I'm not really sure if I agree with this traditional business plan template 100% of the time, but it can help you to sort of think through your ideas. And as long as you're very clear on why it is you're building something and what your end goal is, it might be financial, but it might be something else you're trying to work towards. So trying to kind of write everything down or sketch it out, whatever way your brain works, just so that you've kind of got a plan, and then start talking to as many people as you can, get involved with the community, look for competitions so you can keep talking about your idea. It's all about your network and speaking to people in those early days.
Oh, definitely. Having a plan most definitely helps.
Yeah, otherwise you're just running around like a headless chicken, and you might start to feel unfocused and overwhelmed. And I always think when I'm feeling really overwhelmed, just sitting down, writing down everything that's on my mind, and then just starting to create little lists really helps me. Everyone works differently, but getting it out of your mind and onto a piece of paper always helps me.
It almost makes it real when you've got it down on that bit of paper, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I completely agree.
So Lara, you work in STEM, really. You work in a digital area. So how do you find it as a woman working in STEM? Don't really see many women work in engineering or anything like that.
So I guess it's changing a lot. I think when I started GearedApp 8 years ago, I was the only girl in a class of 100 guys on my computing course, and it was sometimes a little awkward, and people did sort of make passing judgments about, your ability to code. People have a sort of preconception about what a coder is or someone in tech is, and I think that being a female in tech, you almost have an advantage because you can actually have a different perspective of things. So I found that even though in the early days there have been times where I felt a little bit maybe of an imposter syndrome, or even a little bit of judgment from certain people, I find that just trying to understand what people are looking for and use my own skills, my own set of skills in the tech environment has really helped me along the way. I think that a lot of the time there can be a lot of support out there that you're not aware of. So I've been really supported by other females in tech as well, and use that as inspiration for me that anything is really possible. So it's, again, just trying to get out of your head and push yourself out there and not get too overwhelmed by being in a male-oriented industry, to be honest.
No, that's incredible, especially the fact you were the only female in a class so big as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that diversity is so important these days. I think it's not just about male and female involvement in the tech scene. It's about having diversity across all different backgrounds and perspectives. We've got a really diverse team at GearedApp, and I find that people have completely different approaches to solving problems depending on their background and their experience in different industries. So that's something that I really champion, is trying to get as many women, LGBTQ plus community, anyone with any sort of other backgrounds, disabilities, all to kind of think about getting involved with tech, because now that we work in a remote world, there are much fewer boundaries for people as well. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
Most definitely. That's incredible, Lara. Thank you. So what was the turning point for you and your partners in seeing a difference and an impact in what your company was having?
So I think that the turning point for me was when, I think it was maybe about 3.5 years into our journey, I had this realization, we had gone from a team of 4.5, 5 people to 10 within 1 year. Oh. And that jump was exciting because it meant that we could achieve so much more. We just landed a really exciting client in the States, and there was so much potential. We moved into a new office and everything was exciting. But I think what really hit home for me was that we were responsible for all of these different team members who also were maybe having a baby, or they had family at home, they were paying their mortgages and rents. And it was that realization that we're creating a community and I'm supporting other people now. So there was a bit of pressure, that's quite a lot of pressure when you wake up and realize I'm not just paying my own bills, I'm paying 10 other people's bills. But also it was that feeling of accomplishment that, right, okay, we've got a real business here. We're doing something really important for our clients, and we have a team that really appreciate the work we do and are really excited to do it with us. So that was kind of, I think, the biggest moment of accomplishment for me.
No, that's amazing, especially seeing that growth from, like you say, having just that small team and expanding it further. So I have one more question for you, Lara. So obviously looking after your mental health and well-being is so important for everyone, especially aspiring entrepreneurs along their journey into enterprise. So with having a busy career in business like you have, what sort of things do you do to relax and unwind and sort of relax out of business?
So I think this is a really important topic right now. I personally have had challenges with my own mental health. I won't hide away from that. I think a lot of our team have, a lot of people I know have in the last couple of years. And for me, it's been really important to take a step back occasionally. And even though you might feel like you have a million things to do and you can't step away from your business because everything will fall apart, if you don't take a step back from your business when you need to, it will have an even worse knock-on effect when you just burn it completely. So taking a step back earlier rather than later, I think, is really important. And the way I do that is I just try and do small things like go for walks during the day, get out and just get some fresh air. I recently introduced, with the team over lockdown, we noticed that over lunchtime, an hour wasn't really enough time to disconnect and get some fresh air and kind of get away from the computer. So now we have more flexibility and people can go away from their desk for up to 2 hours as long as they make back the time. But that's enough time to maybe go for a jog or go walk the dog or just get away from the screen. So for me, time away from the screen, number one thing. I have a puppy now, so I like walking my dog. But speaking to people, so I've got a great family, I've got great friends I can speak to, but sometimes I just like to get away and speak to someone about everything that's going on and kind of decompress. Not too much, but just to try and get things off my chest. And also reading. Who doesn't like reading and escaping from your tech world where you're always on the computer and just sitting down with an actual book and getting absorbed into well, for me, a fictional world.
Oh, I know, you can't beat a good book.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say thank you, Lara, for joining me today. It has been an absolute pleasure to talk with you. And thank you for sharing your journey with us. It's been so inspiring and so empowering. I know our students will take so much from this discussion. So thank you very much.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for having me here. And yeah, just would encourage anyone that's thinking about starting a business to go for it, start planning, start talking to people, and anything is possible.